Hello everybody. I hope everybody's alright and welcome. Everything looks okay. I think we're fine for another live show. Just check something about the source capture device. Okay. And let me check the Logitech stuff. I want to see something about this here. There's something I just quite don't like about what I see. I hate those Logitech crappy stuff that they put on their devices. Later. Don't care about an update. Don't bother me with that. Okay, camera. And just want to see something here. Looks okay. Crappy stuff. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. And we are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are okay. So thanks Andy for letting me know. It looks good, it sounds great. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave show. We are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, as usual. And this is a show about radio. We're here every Fridays at 2000 hours Universal Time, and we just have fun with radio. Let's just lower CHU just a little bit here. I was tuning around and finding some signals. So, of course, this is a show about radio, specifically more about anything below 30 megahertz. But, you know, if you look at last week's show, we're not confined to just that. Sometimes we go and talk about other frequency ranges, even though I have a VHF, UHF channel that I'm trying to sort out how and why and what I should do with it. But still, we'll continue checking out. And of course, for those asking me, yes, we are sorry, we are going to come back with VHF, UHF shows. But I'm going through August. There's a few things I want to change, and there's a few things I want to do. So sometime in September, around mid-September, you guys might see a increased output of live shows. We might have a twice-a-week live show, one on Fridays, and one that would be something like maybe Tuesdays, some kind of midday, and it will be at a totally different time. Much later. Instead of 20 UTC, I'm kind of thinking of something about 0 UTC. So I know for you guys in Europe that's going to be very late, but maybe other, you know, like North America, and anyways, as the details come through, I will be talking about that. So that could be a twice-a-week show here on the Shortwave channel. It's very popular, and I'm getting constant comments of people telling me, hey, you know what, your show is great, but it's always at a time that I can't watch. So I don't know, we'll see. Either midday, or if I would go back to a Saturday show, the Saturday show would be like at 0 UT rather than being at you know, something like 20 UT. But Saturday is complicated because I do have a life outside of all of this. It might sound incredible. Maybe you're thinking, really? You've got a life other than radio? Yes, I do. And that life, I, of course, gotta, deal with all of it in order for everybody to be happy and not sound like I'm the guy that lives in a cave somewhere and that nobody knows who I am and what I do because I'm just always here. So anyways, more details coming up, okay? Mid-September, there's going to be some changes. There's going to be some stuff we're going to do. I'm thinking of a few things. I actually got a flash. I'm in the moment of rethinking everything about YouTube that I do. I've already done some changes on my tech channels. And I am thinking of all the changes I can actually do. Kind of increase the output a little bit. Also make it more interesting for everybody to maybe find it cool to listen in and watch the show. So as the details go through and as I take notes and think about things, of course I'll let you guys know. But the chances of a two shows a week, one like on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, maybe Wednesday, I don't know why Wednesday sounds good to me. That could be kind of an interesting thing. I would have a Wednesday 0 UT show and a Friday 20 UT show, which would be different and interesting to look at. Dabbling with the idea of maybe doing a little something live on the tech channels also. All of that is coming back. I know on the tech channel a lot of people are missing me and want to have live shows back. I haven't done live shows in the tech channel in a year and a half. So I don't know. There's something also that I'm kind of thinking about. I've got an Android channel that's unused. It's this close to be monetized. I got more than 1,000 subs. I just don't have the number of viewer hours to get there. But I found a interesting side thanks to my nephew, where I suddenly have access to like 20 different Android phones, some of them the most popular of all, which means I could talk about a lot of different devices. And I kind of told my nephew, well, maybe we could reactivate my Android channel. You help me with the phones, and we share 50% of all the revenue coming from the channel. So a 50-50 deal, which of course for him sounds interesting, and for me also. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm this month is the month where, like every year I do this. August is the month where I think about the future of the channels, the future of what I do, because there's a future and I gotta look ahead. I mean, I can't just stand and sit down and think that what I do is always going to be like that. It's always going to be popular, and you just continue in the same thing. This is my job, and because this is my job, I got to think ahead. I got to think about what's coming up. I got to think about changes. There needs to be new ideas coming out. So already I've this channel, the Shortwave channel, I've already increased the viewership a lot with the top 10 stuff, and I do have an increased output of videos. I need more ideas. I need more things to do, and of course, the complete idea here is the schedule, because I have a complex schedule. I do a lot of things in a week. I do a lot of videos. I work a lot to bring out content everywhere. So it's all in getting also a balance. If I do too much, I will actually do what happened to me 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I came to a point where I was this close of stopping everything on the live shows. Even here, I came this close of being. I just had too much. It was too much work. Live shows are very demanding. It doesn't show because the show must go on, as they say. Last week I looked crappy because I was hungover, but did the show anyway. The thing is, when you do too much, at some point you also have a moment where you just don't have enough time for yourself. And I am trying to find a balance between time for myself, time for live shows and videos, but not going nuts in overdoing it, and then I'm just gonna stop everything because it's just too much. So anyways, August is the month where I always rethink everything. I'm also looking ahead. What is the future of all of my channels? I get questions here of what's the future of shortwave. Well, the future of shortwave, the future of radio, and the future of this channel are all tied together. I mean, if there's nothing to listen to in 5 years, I won't be here doing live shows. Because part of what I want to do here is have everybody listening in. But if there's nothing to listen to, then why should I do a show about something listening to something that doesn't exist? So anyway, you guys get the I think the gist of it. I always need time to reflect upon where I'm going. I mean, this channel is obviously increasing. I'm a competitive guy. I like competition. I've been looking at other radio channels, a couple of them that are kind of interesting, because there's a couple of them that I've actually noticed that are getting a lot of attention, and they are getting more views, and they're increasing at a fast pace. So of course my competition side is like, no, I want to be one of the top channels out there, radio stuff. So that means, okay, what do you got to do, and all of that. So anyways, of course we're here, and hope you enjoy this Friday. Also remind everybody that next week we are having 2 shows. Next Friday is the regular show of Friday, August 16th, 2000 UTC, 4 p.m. Eastern. But Saturday, August 17th, is going to be the Canadian International DX Club Barbecue out in Greenfield Park, Quebec. We will be there. We will have interviews. We will have people around. I'll have an audience. So Saturday, August 17th, next week, we are live at 20 UTC from the CIDX Barbecue out in Greenfield Park, Quebec. So that also is something to put on your calendars. Next week is 2 shows. So you get a 2-for-1. So hey everybody, there's a beautiful chat room, beautiful people, amazing people. I got my beer. I've already sipped half of it before the show started. Maybe it's a sign that tonight's going to be different right now. We're going to talk about number stations. We're going to talk about different things. I've got a few questions in email that I want to answer. Of course, you guys always have tons of things to talk about and questions about shortwave. We're going to talk about that. And cheers. So, Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Colorado. Terry Cook, nice to have you on board, my friend. We have WOHB 1390, nice to have you on board from Ohio. Yeah, last week my show was on exceptionally on Saturday. Come on, everybody wants to see you. Here goes, Mr. Paul. And for those that don't know, yesterday was the International Day of Cats. So look here, man. I'm trying to look here. Oh man, he doesn't want to. should have something to lure him fruit there. Look at that. I'm going to do something. I'm going to use this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Come on, man. He's wondering, what the hell are you doing? So, Mr. Polycat here to entertain and say hi to everybody, of course. What else do we have? We have Mr. Lucky Train. Nice to have you on board with a pleasant summer afternoon in Delaware River in Bucks County, southeastern Pennsylvania. Welcome aboard, my friend. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana, USA, WA5107 SWL. Andy Coley, nice to have you on board. 2E0REE, calling CQ. Matt Ambale, nice to have you here from Colorado. Mark Cope from Dallas, Texas. 95 in the shack this afternoon. Ouch. I hope the beer is ice cold. It is. It has to be at that temperature. Joe Topinka, nice to have you here from the Chicago area. Really nice to have you on board. Yeah, it's cooler here, and we're actually going to be in for a week or two of much cooler temperatures, which is welcome because we had a really warm July here, actually. Don Warner, nice to have you here from Ohio. What else do we have? What else do we have? Joe Topeka right now is using a Yaesu FRG 100. That's a nice little receiver. Walbrook ALA 1530 loop. So really nice. And I've read a lot of positive about the Yaesu FRG 100. You know what I read about Yaesu is the FRG 100 is now it's underrated. Maybe I don't know. It was less expensive than most tabletops at the time, and I think part of that probably gives you maybe some people kind of didn't rate it well because of that. And basically, I don't know if you guys see this, but Mr. Polycat being very comfy right now. So I think maybe the price played in there, but I remember reading the Passport to World Band radio reviews that were giving it still a pretty good level of, pretty good review, honestly. And I think it's a nice radio, and it looks really beautiful also. It's a very beautiful radio. David Arden, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yes, Mr. Cat, I will be taking care of you at the same time as I'm working to bring you food. You know that I'm doing this to bring you food? Like how fat you are. You're like me. I got a big belly. What else do we have? NL13851, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. iWrite61, nice to have you here. Kimberly in California, nice to have you on board. We were talking about your video of that 5.8 antenna. Actually, MDK2 Matt was talking about it, and was telling everybody to go watch that video. Nice to have you here, Kimberly. Rufus Newt, nice to have you on board. He's back home in the Laurentian Valley this week. Cool. Bro Weaver, nice to have you on board from St. Louis. Pretty cool. Jack 2112, nice to have you on board. N9IIF, pretty cool. Pete Logan, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Universal Radio has a Drake R8B for sale, $1,000. Wow. Wow. I'm pretty good here, by the way, for anybody asking. Rodolphe65, nice to have you here. Pretty cool. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France, toujours un plaisir. J'espère que la température et tout est merveilleux là-bas. Ici, c'est plus frais, j'aime ça. Joe Rutman, nice to have you on board, my friend. What are we going today? We're going to talk about radio today. That's pretty much what we're going to do. What else do we have? Going down, trying to catch up as fast as I can. I'm 20 minutes behind you guys right now. So if you guys want to know, 20 minutes. Give me time here. Owen81, nice to have you on board from Bristol, UK. M70JW, nice to have you here, Owen. Pretty cool. NDRC, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Stormy UK. So says third had a power outage this evening. Wow. Just take care over there. So Jeff King, nice to have you on board. Joshua Cauldron, nice to have you on board. Rebuild the Sony IRF receiver, picks up both time clock CHU Canada, I hear in the background. Built one heck of antenna system just to get shortwave listening in Arizona and Fort Collins. Nice to have you here, my friend. Today's figures, nice to have you on board from España. Pretty cool. What else? Randy, Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. KN6BZJ. Cyberflyer 1. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, Andy. Midnight UTC. Yeah, I am checking out. There might be a special, because I'm going, if all goes well, I will be, first of all, going to Perry Island on Wednesday. And I was thinking of maybe trying a little 1 hour show, not a full-length show, but a 1 hour outside show from Perry Island. When the temperatures are better, I will actually have shows from outside like I had. They are fun to do also. You know, get myself outside and have you guys follow along. So it's nice to have you guys here. Hey, Paul. Bob, nice to have you here. Bob, guys from Long Beach, New York. Nice to have you on board. David Arden, life outside of radios. Yeah. Flash that live show, radio forever. Yeah, who needs a life when you got radio? McGlown, nice to have you on board from Port Park, Florida. Michael Satterfield, nice to have you on board. Yeah, UTC time. That would be 8 p.m. Eastern, which means 5 p.m. Pacific. Would be nice. Joshua Cauldron says, awesome channel. I like your radios. Ex-Navy also. Got Bangladesh near China, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Coast. Here in Wilcox, Arizona. Had to filter out radar and lots of blue beam interference out here. So cool. Lots of radio, and that's fun. Jersey bound. Nice to have you on board from New Jersey. 45 unit. Nice to have you on board and having a nice cup coffee. Cool, cool. That's nice. Let's bring that camera back up here. Mr. Paul is in wondering what the hell he's doing. So for those that haven't seen Paul, and it was so funny the time that I was talking about Paul and Paul sleeping on the neighbor's balcony. And he just couldn't figure out that Paul was my cat. He thought it was a person. And it's like, yeah, when you don't know who Paul or what Paul is all about. So we're back here, and just put it back up a little bit. So yeah, the autofocus is on. I hate that, but anyways, it's on. Okay, what else do we have? William Helms. Nice to have you on board from Florida, my friend. Todd Schmidt, nice to have you here. Rekreb Rekre, nice to have you here from Turkey. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. Eduardo Montero, nice to have you here. So it's not the official Android channel. It's what is it? I don't remember the name of my Android channel. Okay, this is. Let me just check it out here. I think I got it on my phone. The channel is. Learn to use Android OS. So if you guys wanna subscribe, I'm at 1,500 subscribers right now. It's Learn to Use Android OS. So I just put the name in the description below the video. So that's the channel right now, and it's got almost 6,000 views in the last month, and 50 new subscribers, and I haven't posted a video on that channel in ages. I'm almost wondering if it hasn't monetized for some reason. So, okay. We're gonna come back here. But, so learn to use Android OS. And I will have access to like 20 or 30 phones, including the most populars. So I think that could be a lot of fun, because that means I can talk about every phone that everybody has, thanks to my nephew that works in a place where they have every phone because they're testing apps. This is cool. And of course, I think the offer of 50-50 revenue share is one that you will be happy about. Tory Boy, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Johnny the Xer, nice to have you on board. W3JMC from suburban Philadelphia. David Arnon, whenever I decide, you guys are there. Cool. Can you make a living from a YouTube channel easily? How many subscribers do you need? Says Owen81. How many videos do you need to put out? Let's say that I'll round it up in a very, very, very simple way. If you want to start making a living on YouTube or think about it, you need to have at least 50,000 views a day. A day. Okay? I got more than that. With the total of my channels, because I don't have only one. If I had only this channel, I couldn't make a living. I wouldn't make enough money. I would make, you know, an amount of money, but I would need to do something else. My main money incomes from my tech channel. That with this channel, with also my insider channel, together are giving me a living that's decent. But you need at least 50,000 views every day if you want to do something. And it's not a question of how many videos you post out, or it's really the content, the way you do it, the way you bring it to people. Some people make a living with one video a week, but they work hard on making it perfect and professional. It all depends on the content and the stuff that we have. So, but easily, if you think about it, if you think about something cool to do that really brings a lot of people around, it's not that, you know, it's not that difficult, but it's also not that easy. I mean, it all depends on how you do it, what you present, you know, you need 1,000 subscribers to be able to monetize on YouTube, minimum. And I got a lot of people saying, well, you know, that's tough. It's not. If you concentrate on it, it's not that tough to get 1,000 subs. Honestly, it's not. The problem is a lot of people work and do videos. And what happens is, because they work and do videos, they don't have a lot of time to devote to it. The difference is, this is my job. I devote my time to it. So it isn't the same. But it's possible. It is much cooler than having a lot of regular jobs. Absolutely, Owen. Got that. Todd Schmidt said, with the tensions in the world, India, Pakistan, China, USA trade war, sending weapons into Taiwan versus China, and the protests in Hong Kong, shortwave is vital. Absolutely. Shortwave is one of the best ways to stay informed and know what's happening in the world, for sure. So take care, Joshua Cauldron. It's nice to have you on board. I know Hamrat88 channel. Tom Styles does some live stuff, but I'm really very specific, very regular on doing the radio the live shows. Maybe that's probably one of the biggest differences here is the fact that I'm extremely regular in my schedule and always have live shows, and I'm probably one of the only ones that can do a live show for 2, 3, 4 hours and not bore everybody. I hope people don't get bored, actually. But you know, it's kind of interesting. Imad Abbas, bonsoir et bienvenue. Toujours un plaisir. Perfect new down thunderstorm rolling in. Yeah, we had about half an hour before the show started here, we had a couple of lightning strikes, but now it's sunny. But I wouldn't be surprised if thunderstorms rolling in too. Todd Schmidt got a DX398, which is the equivalent of the ATS 909. It's way better in my opinion than the 909X. I had one and returned it. Really? What is the main difference? What do you like more about the DX398 or the original ATS 909 than the one that the 909X? Michael Sutterfield, nice to have you here. Yeah, Paul is beautiful. Pagemaster, greetings. Nice to have you here. KI5CWF. Yep, Paulie as well. Mark Fisher, nice to have you on board from Southern Illinois. Pretty cool. Joshua Cauldron saying 73s from Wilcox, Arizona. Take care, my friend. Ingmar Klenhart, nice to have you on board from Grundigtown in Germany. Cool. Hey, Jay Jolie, nice to have you on board. So, great show, Caveman Jill from Quebec City. Oh, you're in Quebec. Wow, take care. I hope you're having fun. And always nice to have you on board. I guess we'll see each other on Sunday with a beer, as usual. Jean-Marc. Take care. René Charbonnier, bonjour, bienvenue. All right, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Man. The Paul the Cat Show with guest star Jill. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Todd Schmidt, listening DX from Rock Island, Illinois. You, Calvin Morgan, nice to have you on board. Yes, he is a happy cat. Calvin, nice to have you here. Pretty cool to see you on board. I was just talking to a guy in France. Oh, cool. Cool. Calvin says, listening to 27535 at the moment. Allen Islands to come in. Oh, interesting. Michael Satterfield, greetings from K4AFT in Central South Carolina. Cool. Dave Thought, nice to have you on board from Niagara, Ontario. I need to go back to Toronto and maybe go back to Niagara Falls. I was thinking of taking a day off, or actually 2 days, and taking a train to Toronto and spend a day or two in Toronto, and then maybe go to Niagara Falls and I don't know, something like that. I've been there last time like 12 years ago. I'd like to go back. Charles Williams, nice to have you here. Donald Hosmer, nice to have you on board from Northern Michigan, W8SWL. Heading to Norway next week for a Baltic Sea cruise. He's taking his XH Data D808 and AOR LE400 loop to the X from the stateroom balcony. That's going to be interesting. I hope you have a lot of fun with that. Don't spend too much time on the radio. Do enjoy the cruise, but do enjoy the radio. I mean, it must be quite interesting when you can listen, you know, just changing country. Even doing just 1,000 miles is already amazing how it changes the shortwave landscape of what we can hear. So kind of interesting. Justin Pate, nice to have you here, my friend. So the UK is experiencing massive electrical outages at the moment. Wow, pretty crazy. Hope you guys are okay. PLF radio was quite hot today. Now it's a lot of lightning in Lyon. Not in my region, but still in France, close to Luxembourg. They had tornadoes. Wow, something rarer in France. Here in Quebec, we usually have a couple of tornadoes a year. Every summer, there's at least 2 or 3 sightings of tornadoes. And we did have a couple in the past month or so, especially with the very hot weather. So kind of interesting. So apparently it's all good now in the UK according to BBC's live update. It says Matambali. How to get sex? Nice to have you here. Todd Schmidt is an iPhone guy. Love my 8 Plus. I was on an iPhone until the iPhone 5, and then I moved to Android and never will go back. Pretty cool. Matambali. Is that from experience, Matambali? If you don't reconnect your antenna after a thunderstorm, you're not going to hear all that much. I think that tip comes from personal experience. It sounds like a personal experience tip. Only somebody that experienced that now knows about it. My pro tip is when there's a lot of noise, more than usual on all of your signals, make sure that you check all the connections of your different antennas. Maybe the shield of your coax doesn't make good contact. That's my pro tip from about 3 weeks ago when I was actually going nuts and thinking, well, the noise is so high, what's happening? And notice that on the RSP1A, the coax connection, where I have my connection to the RSP1A, was actually not good, and it couldn't make good contact. And it made a hell of a difference when that contact was good again. Free Saxon, nice to have you on board. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board. Buenas tardes. Unpopcom, nice to have you on board from South Central Pennsylvania. Really cool to have everybody here right away. Olivia, yes, you did it. I got your donation and we'll follow your instructions of using it for Paul the cat. Thanks for the donation, Olivia, and nice to have you here from Sutton, Quebec, I believe. Tony Turtle, nice to have you on board. Linda B, nice to have you here. Tristan Patty, the PL380 is a good radio as well. ETM, great feature. Yeah, it's a nice radio. I got one here. Well, just behind the radios there is a Texan PL380. It's really good. Todd says, what radio would you choose if you only had one of them? The 808 or the 660? The 808. The 808. You're not going wrong with the XH data. This has been my favorite portable in the past couple of months. If you have one radio, just one, to buy, get this. I mean, for the money paid, this is amazing. This, with all the features, would have cost like $1,000 in the 80s to have. I mean, it's incredible how technology has changed the portable receiver world. Okay, it's time for a beer. Beer number 2, Raffman. Oh yeah. So it's interesting to see how all of that has changed over the last 30 years. How technology has made possible radios that are such performers in such a lower price. It's actually, you know, in 30 years our salaries went up. And there are things that are so expensive. I mean, salaries went up, but there's a lot of things that went up even faster than our salaries for a lot of us. And shortwave radios unfortunately, because if they would have been going up at the price of, you know, other things that we purchase, I'm not even sure I'd be here today, because I'm not even sure people would be, you know, honestly looking at shortwave anymore. And what's interesting is the prices have come down so much that now you get a pretty amazing radio for a price that almost anyone can afford. We can't generalize, we can't say everybody can afford. As I do, you know, it's interesting because I know that different countries have different, you know, salaries. We don't have the same living standard. You know, it's easy to forget that. I mean, for me, a $40 radio is something I can purchase tomorrow morning if I need one. We often forget that a lot of people are not there. That $40 is a lot of money. So we got to be careful with the way we say things. But in general, it's easier than ever to have a radio, and a decent radio, to listen to shortwave. And you know, I was this week when I made my video about what started everything, the Realistic DX100. That thing cost $100 back then. Well, $100 in 1982 was a lot more money than $100 in 2019. But $100 shortwave radio in 1982 was a relatively crappy radio. It was probably like buying a $20 radio today. What's interesting is today, for $100, you get something that is just so amazing because of the way that the technology made the prices go down. Let's be fair, part of it is because it's made in China, but not totally. I mean, you know, look at, I believe the Realistic DX100 is made in Taiwan or something like that, because back then that was the, you know, manufacturing of electronics has moved along. So it's maybe made in Taiwan, or, you know, then there was a lot of electronics made in Korea. Singapore, I remember, was one of the places where a lot of electronics came out. Today most of it comes from China, but also the electronics themselves made it less expensive. You know what makes the price go down on the XH data is that silicon integrated chip, which is a radio on a chip. That makes the prices go down a lot. That thing has everything there, and probably by selling it by bulk, it's you know, really less expensive, honestly. And so it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting when you look at that. Matambali is hearing Kuwait on 17550. Really? Let's check it out. 17550. Hearing anything here? Let's bring that a little down here. Got a very, very weak trace, but so weak that it's probably not very, it's not very strong. It's really not strong enough. It's interesting how we have different ways, depending on where we are, of listening to a signal from like Europe or the Middle East, and it's so different when you look at it on the way that things work. It's just crazy. Okay, what else do we have? Constantin, nice to have you here, Constantin. R6DAR, which I guess is from Russia. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Todd says the K1103 was a beautiful analog type display, very sensitive, easy to use. It is. So Linda B, bonjour, from Minneapolis. Nice to have you here. Neeson Greenwich, nice to have you here, my friend. It has a search, but it doesn't have an ETM type search, and that is probably the number one missing feature. Missing feature of the D808. I gotta say. Yes, I confess I have experience forgetting to reattach an antenna once or 200 times. Oh man. Bobby Burgess, how do you feel when a broadcasting company stops transmitting to cable or satellite provider? You know, the problem with a lot of our technology and the things we with all of these companies is everything is money driven. I mean, even shortwave broadcasting is money driven, and the problem is money is not, for shortwave broadcasting, money is not what should be driving, because it's not like a private broadcaster. So, you know, I guess they go with the flow of whatever is, you know, popular or not. Honestly, you know, I guess that's pretty much the thing here, and it's they get to a point where they're like, you know, they get to a point where they just decide that, you know, let's pull the plug because it's not it's not something we can do anything about. Nobody's listening in. You know, it's very hard to know who's listening in. We talk about that on the International Radio Report, me and Sheldon on Sunday mornings. So radio has this very, you know, here it's easy. I'm looking at you guys, but there's a counter. I see that right now there's 134 people watching, and I know there's an audience. I could see the numbers. I could see that after 24 hours there's 1,000 views most of the time on this live show. So it gives me an idea. I know there's an audience. On radio, there are different ways of doing an audience search. One of them is using these companies that, you know, bug you and telling them that you're listening to the stations and so on. More modern equipment today, there are some electronic means where they can actually check out what you're listening to. But overall, I mean, when I'm in the studio with Sheldon on Sunday morning at CKUT, if nobody comments on the Facebook page, on any platform, if nobody tells us they're listening, we have zero idea if someone is actually listening while we're doing the show. We could be doing a show on Sunday mornings and there's 0 people out there. We don't know. We don't know. And that's why I always tell everybody, if you like a shortwave station, if you love shortwave radio, write to them. They have no idea you're listening in. There was an article that I read this morning about Voice of America. Voice of America estimates that they reach about 270 million people every week with their shortwave broadcasts. 270 million people. There isn't 270 million people writing to them to let them know, or calling in to say, hey, we're listening in. It's an estimate from different factors, different things they look at. You know, there are some, over years, there were some statistics that came out and that shows that, you know, for every letter you receive to say, hey, I'm here listening, there's like, you know, 1,000 people that are listening in and never write and will never do write ever or call in. One of the things that is interesting is that the majority of people listening to the radio will never ever ever let anyone know that they are listening in. And it's easy to see because, I mean, look at here. I had 1,000 views in 24 hours on this video. But I will have, at best, we'll reach 150 views live. And maybe we'll have a few comments. But that's not even 1/5. In 24 hours, not even 1/5 of the audience will have told me, hey, I'm listening in. The majority of people are silent. They look at something. They look at this live show and are not in the chat room. They have zero interest in that. They might be interested in reading the chat room, seeing what you guys are saying, listening to the content of what we do, but not necessarily interacting with it. A lot of people are shy to a point where they are not interacting. You know, it's easy to forget. I was telling a friend of mine that wanted to start some live. So basically, he's got a YouTube channel that, you know, with like 5 subscribers or something, and he never really got serious into it. And we talked about 2 weeks ago, and he was saying, you know, I look at what you do and like to do that. And I said, why don't you do it? The big difference is that I can start a stream, a live stream of whatever, at any time, without really having any thoughts about it. But it brought me back to when I started. The first ever live show I did, which is like something in 2013, which was kind of an experiment. I remember I was so stressed out at just the idea of, I'm going to turn on that camera and people are going to look at me. It was a stressful experience. And it's easy to forget because I'm not stressed out at all doing these live shows. I turn on the camera and say, hey, it's like having my friends over. And a lot of people come back to me and say, yeah, you know, you say we all should do it, you know, but the thing is, we're kind of, you know, it's kind of shy, and I don't know, I'm not sure when I, you know, show my face. And look, I get it. I get it. And some people are, you know, shyer than others, or I don't know if you can say that word. Some people have more stress doing something like this than others. So, you know, it's all a question of, you want to know if somebody's out there, for sure, but it's not always easy. And I mean, that Voice of America is an estimate. The BBC World Service, they had, I don't remember the last number they issued, but there were hundreds of millions of people listening to the shortwave outlet of the BBC World Service. But there's a big chunk of it which is an estimation of all of that. So, you know. Linda B used to have a Grundig Yacht Boy for 100 years ago. I had one in the 90s, and I regret selling it. I should have kept it. It was a nice little radio. So Jerry DX, nice to have you here. Tony Turtle, nice to have you here. Oh, really? Just airwaves, Matt? Oh, interesting. I would drop cable. Honestly, it's. I'm not watching cable. I watch Netflix, YouTube, listen to the radio, and watch YouTube videos. Iman Abbas, 42 degrees in Algeria. Hope you stay cool, my friend. Tristan Petty here. Anyone here on the East Coast, Canada? Newfoundland, found shortwave listening not great this week. There was a lot of geomagnetic disturbance this week. On what was it? Monday, Tuesday, something like that. Even maybe Wednesday, there was geomagnetic storming. So the conditions were not great. Linda B, the radio I just showed was the XH Data D808. XH Data D808, which is a very nice long wave, medium wave, short wave, general coverage with airband if you want to listen to airplanes and the airports. Very amazing package. It's a DSP radio, so there's a little bit of strangeness around it because of the DSP aspect, but it's amazingly good. So many choices of bandwidth, separate upper lower sideband, and even CW filters. It's just crazy, just crazy. Calvin, I would say that it's better than the PL680 because I have tested both side by side. The XH Data D808 wins over the PL680, a little more sensitive. On the Sony 7600JR, I'm not sure because I've never actually owned one, so I'm not sure of its performance. But I can tell you over the PL680, it's better. David Arden, how many people can say they can drink on the job? That's right. I guess the only people that can say that is YouTubers and bartenders. Pretty much. Yeah, the 380 was nice shirt pocket. Absolutely. 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 What else? Let's try to get to the live feed time. I am about 14 minutes behind, guys. We're gonna try to get the Touchmint, both are great, but the radio hour performs noticeably better than what are the 380. The 380, yeah, absolutely. The radio hour does perform better. Radio hour is this one here. Radio R108. This does perform better than the 380 for sure, and it has airband. Well, the Hosmer D808 does not have ETM. I think my Countycom GP5 SSB. It's a Countycom. I use it almost only for that, honestly. I've noticed that when I take out my Countycom GP5, which is, by the way, the same as the Texan PL365, I almost always take it out only for the ETM functionality. That is great. I wish the D808 would have that. It would make that radio the best overall, without any questions. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you here from Tennessee. What else do we have? Plaisir, Linda. What else do we have? Todd Schmidt says, all I can say, I don't underestimate the true potential of children's toys. My Slinky receive antenna was amazing. Yeah, you know. Glenn has a DX394, DX302. That also, I owned a DX302 for a long time. I should have never sold it. I should have kept that. Would have been nice here, for sure. Tristan says, a few weeks ago picked up some CB radio stations from southern US. I had no idea CB could travel so far in Newfoundland, Canada. Crazy. Yep. When conditions are right, there's a lot of skip on the CB bands. But remember, a lot of them use amplifiers, but still, it's just crazy when that opens up. Crazy. David Green, nice to have you on board. Has reception been weak in the States lately? I was listening to Voice of America Africa almost every morning, and now I can barely pull it in. Well, you know, like I said, this week there was some geomagnetic activity, so there could be. This week was a little disturbed in the propagation conditions for sure. Craig C, nice to have you on board. Using a dipole setup direct from cable to antenna, 33 feet 5 inches each leg. Wow, and it was working great. I put up a 9-1 balun and 65 feet wire and lost so much signal. Cannot figure out why I lost so much, like on 4840. But is that change been recent? Because this week is not a good week to test that out. You know, the biggest problem with shortwave antenna testing is shortwave changes all the time. So sometimes you put up an antenna and it's like, oh, that's crappy. Well, it's not necessarily crappy. It's just today propagation is crappy. It's not necessarily the antenna. But sometimes it's the way that you set it up, the positioning that you have. You know, there's a lot of changes depending on what you do also. Page Master says, I wrote to the following stations: Voice of Vietnam, Radio Slovakia, EWTN, Radio Prague, and WBCQ with reception report, and my station's QSL card. Cool. Everybody should do that. Actually, this week I got kind of back in the urge of, I should be writing these stations, letting them know that I'm listening in. Maybe, you know what, I've never, when I wrote to a station, never did I mention my YouTube channel. Maybe I should write these stations, tell them I'm listening in, that I'm telling you guys to listen in, and give them details on my YouTube channel. I really should do that. Shady Pyro 90, nice to have you here. Owen says, that's a really good point. I got my foundation AM license in February, but I've been disappointed when I put calls out on the local repeaters or CQ calls on a calling channel. And what I probably hate the most in all of the comments that I see all the time, is that there is a certain number, of ham operators, and you know, some of them been there for a long time, that I see constantly saying, oh, well, you know, we're at the bottom of the solar cycle, that's why everything's crappy, and that's why I'm not really listening much. And I'm sorry, but if you're not listening to shortwave, if you're not doing your ham radio stuff because we're at the bottom of the solar cycle, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no understanding of what propagation and radio is all about. I've said it in the past and I'll say it again. Some of my best ever DX has actually been done while we were in the solar minimum. It changes propagation. Yes, sometimes it makes it crappy, but there's always something there. You know, the biggest problem of what's happening right now is not propagation that much. It's if everybody tells themselves, hey, it's solar minimum, let's not do ham radio, that means that ham radio bands are actually quiet. Then people say, oh, it's solar minimum, that's why I don't. No, don't get into that pattern. That is the most dumbest thing that you can be in. You listen in and you do some ham radio contacts. Anybody that tells you it's solar minimum, that's why it's bad, no. It's different. It's the higher frequency ranges are not propagating. I listen to some really great stuff here. Even though the solar flux was 68 or something. Stop thinking that, you know, because of solar minimum, maybe I shouldn't be listening or doing my ham radio's hobby. And just participate. If every ham radio operator, honestly, if every ham radio operator at this moment now would all get on the bands, you guys would go on a 20-meter band and say, what the hell is happening? Look at all. And you know when we can see that? When there's a big contest. Have you guys noticed? I've noticed that whatever the propagation is, whatever conditions we're at, when there's a contest, there's a hell of a lot of stations. There's a hell of a lot of things. It doesn't have that much to do with propagation. Much more to do with nobody's out there. Yes, that was my moment of ranting because it gets me mad every time I see that. And I never comment on a Facebook page when somebody talks about it because I know I'm probably going to, say something and somebody's going to say, well, blah, 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 and I know what I'm talking about. And yeah, okay, just saying. Turn on that radio and listen or do whatever with that hobby of yours. You got a ham license, use it, do something. You like shortwave, listen. Write to the stations. But stop whining that things are bad all the time because it's solar minimum. That annoys me as hell. Let's have a sip of beer now. What else is there? I'm not mad. I'm just expressing myself. You know that thing about expressing yourself? Apparently, I remember somebody told me once, you should always express yourself so that it doesn't bottle up inside so that you explode someday, Oh, God. Yeah. Hey, Fastload. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? If I've missed anybody, please say hi. Rickshaw Jack. Nice to have you on board. Well, if you're listening, you're one of the 1,000 after 24 hours. What else do we have? Let's see. Tristan Petty says, quick questions for you guys. Would using a shielded cable inside my apartment cut the amount of RF? Definitely. My antenna is a simple long wire that passes through my window. Yes, definitely. That makes a huge difference. That's what I do here. So remember, my RSP1A or any radio that I use is here in my office, because this is my office/YouTube studio. To receive stuff here on that means that I gotta drive my antenna so we got WWV with a decent signal here on 15 megahertz. So to have reception of that means the noise has to be at a certain level. One of the biggest problems is the fact that the noise in my office is so high with all the electronic stuff around that I wouldn't be able to listen in to anything if it wasn't for the fact that the cable bringing in the signal from my antennas is shielded. So it does make a huge difference. Even more than that, Tristan, I would say your coax should be like that antenna that you have outside should be as far from your home and the homes around you as it can, and have a shielded cable bring it in to your radios. That will lower the noise a lot. If I would do the same thing right now, but instead have just a wire from my antennas into the home, I would not even be able to listen to WWV here, because that shielding actually does cut a lot of the noise. It blocks all the damn noise from your home, from all the devices we use. There are things you can't do anything about. There are things like the neighbors, but that's one thing that is the number one thing you could do. And by the way, somebody was asking me about, okay, but I don't want to drill holes. You can actually buy a flat coax that lets you pass through a window. It's very flat, and for most windows, actually, you'll be able to go through a window with your coax cable and still be able to listen in. even if you don't want to drill a hole through a wall or anything. So here this is an old apartment. So what happens here is that this old apartment is the problem with the old apartment here is that a problem and not a problem is that somebody's calling me twice, and I'm wondering what's happening. So the door in the back is actually a little crooked, so there's like a lot of space under the door. So I actually passed the cables under the door. You know, most of the time people would say, well, you shouldn't leave it like that in the winter time. I totally understand, but I leave it like that because I can pass my coax under the door. But anyways, yes, big difference. D-Gen, nice to have you here, my friend. D-Gen, it's thunderstorming. Oh, really? You gotta unplug everything and be careful. Red Shortwave, nice to have you here, my friend. I just 3 weeks ago actually subscribed to HF Underground to actually use all of its capabilities. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna I need to listen in because when someone calls you 3 times with the same number, I just wonder if something's happening. Yeah, just won't be long. Won't be long. Sorry guys. Okay, just yeah, okay, nothing important. Okay, I like that. Calls between the live shows and nothing important. And the last call was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot, I think you're in a live show. Yeah, I am. So anyways, hey everybody. So I've been subscribed to HF Underground to be able to post when pirate stations are there. Konstantin is using Flex 6500. 73 is my friend from Russia. What else do we have? What else do we have? Jerry DX, nice to have you here. Yeah, this week, at least 3 days where reception wasn't very good because of geomagnetic storms. Things have quieted down. So it should be better. Check it out in the next week or so, for sure. Yeah, we are going to tune the bands, actually. I am going to also stop blabbing and just check out. We're going to check number stations. We are going to talk a little bit about number stations that are on the air. So right now it's 21:15. We're going to try for M12, which is the Morse code station, I believe from Cuba. Oh, it's 11635 there, 11635. Cuban number, lady? Oh yeah, it's there. Look at that. We're around S7 signal, S8 signal, 11635, the Cuban numbers, HM01. Now, one of the things about Cuba, and a lot of you have noticed this, is that the Cuban numbers have been rather pretty much the same over and over and over again for the same, 10 years. So a lot of us are thinking, are wondering, is the number stations being sent from Cuba kind of something of the past and they just left some kind of automatic process go on? But anyways, I don't know if they're still used or there's still some spy out there listening to the Cuban numbers, but they aren't active daily. So 11635 right now has the HM01. HM means hybrid mode, so it's digital and of course the Cuban lady analog. And Cuban guys, the Cuban spies are probably watching the stream to get their numbers. So 11325, it's actually stronger than usual. I don't hear it as strong as that usually. So kind of nice. Kind of nice. Ingmar Klinhart loves the R108, great portable performer. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Alan W., nice to have you here. It's not a Texan S8800 that I have in the background. What I have here is, it does look like it a lot, but this is actually the Grundig S450 DLX field radio. So it's a different receiver actually. But you know what? When I saw the the Texan S8800, I looked at it and I was like, wow, that looks like a Grundig S450. They are really similar. So you like it? Really, really enjoy it? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Todd Schmidt uses the 108 to scan all my bigger receivers that don't have scanning. Cool. CC Win, nice to have you here. Hiram Percy Maxim 150th birthday celebration. This year marks the 150th anniversary of the birth of the league's first president and co-founder, Hiram Percy Maxim, W1 HPM, W1AW. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I was so surprised talking about W1AW. I'm a little far behind, guys. I'm 15 minutes behind in the chat, by the way. I was listening to 160 meters at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. local, and I was hearing. I actually was seeing on the waterfall a little signal, and I looked on 1802, and it was a Morse code signal, and it was W1AW Morse code test. Red Hat Shortwave, despite being at the bottom of the cycle, had good opening in the South Pacific and Europe as recently as a month ago. So you see. So you see. You never know what's a band until you tune around. Absolutely. I can tell you, I've been impressed with all the things I listen to. It's just that on the ham bands, if you're not there, you can't listen. And, you know, on the Shortwave International broadcast bands, there's a lot of changes, you know. Medium wave DXing should be amazing, for sure, and even this winter. I should do more of it. One of the things is that I don't do enough listening of the medium wave band. I really need to do more listening of the medium wave band, for sure, for sure. Every time I've started listening and being a little more serious, honestly, I've been having a lot of fun. I need to take the time to do it and listen. It's an aspect of the shortwave, the radio hobby that I don't exploit much. You know, last time I did it really seriously, I was in my living room at midnight, and I heard Radio Rebellion from Cuba on, I don't remember what frequency, 6 something kilohertz, and I was like, really? I'm hearing Cuba. This is so amazing with just a little portable radio. And of course, I got to use my Texan AM 200 loop, which is made for that. I mean, it's great. Page Master, always listen to my radios. You never know what signals you might hear. Plus, it is a way for me to send out reception reports to them and with my QSL stations QSL. Imad Abbas listens to Radio Romania. I listen to Radio Romania a lot. Charity X. When Joe wants to talk, he talks. When he wants to tune the bands, he tunes the bands. You know, it's a mix of all of that. But sometimes interesting, you know, when somebody says, well, you know, we should do a little something, you know. VE3KRP, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yes, it's true, some of the best contacts were distance, especially at 44 megahertz. I've been at solar minimum. Don't listen, call CQ. Absolutely. You know, everybody's kind of convinced that there's nobody out there, and you know what? That's the thing. Joe is mad as hell so about solar minimum myth. But you know, it's always the same darn thing. Come on, guys. There's a radio. Do something. Stop whining of solar minimum. I can't stand it anymore. Stop showing these charts. Oh, there's absorption on the whatever layer of the atmosphere. I guess I'm gonna watch Netflix today. Please. Oh, God. Touchman, what I love about radio is the technology holding such a micro-sized device that can clearly lock on a signal from elsewhere. Spinning ball. It is amazing. I mean, you know, it's easy to lose track also of that fun because when I was a teenager and starting out, I was amazed when thinking about, you know, I'm getting a signal from Europe crossing the Atlantic Ocean, getting it on my radio. It's just crazy. Hey, Sheldon Harvey, bonjour, hi, hola, yo, 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 ni hao. Nice to have you here from Greenfield Park. I said Greenfield Peak. Greenfield Park, Quebec. Next week, once again, for those that weren't there at the beginning of the show, next week, 2 shows. We'll have the Friday show, 2000 UTC, on August 16th. On Saturday, August 17th, it's the Canadian International DX Club barbecue. And we'll be live at 20 UT on Saturday, August 17th. NS Norfolk. Hey, Chuck Ripple, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you. Been a long time. Pretty cool to see you here, my friend. Yes, Jerry, damn you, son. Oh, it's a ranting studio. So it's a it's an office, a YouTube studio, and a ranting studio. A drinking studio. It's a bar at the same time. We all have that in one place. Isn't that great? A lot of hams only contest. That is true, Matt. You're totally right. Some hams only won contests. You know what the problem is? Is that a lot of hams only contest, and a lot of hams hate the contest because those that like to chit chat are all kind of, you know, it's like just nuts because they can't, because, you know, I have to say the contesters are a little rude on the ham bands, but hey, at least there's no contest. There's like no contest every week. Let's check out 445. Oh, I got India. It's not very strong, but it's there. India is definitely there on 9445. We do have Greece is good on 9420. Greece is very strong. I mean, Greece has been, you know, an example of amazing signals, and when things are right and directed to the correct place, they actually work well. Well, Greece is almost always audible and easy to hear on 94.20. It's crazy. Take care, René Charbonnier. Always nice to have you here. No, I'm not in a ranting mood. I'm in a let's stop talking about solar minimum ranting mood. We're in solar minimum. Okay, let's get it, guys. If you want to turn off that radio, we're in solar minimum for the next couple of years. So either you turn it off and stop talking about it, or you're here and we listen to the radio, okay? Let's decide what we're going to do. Let's do a Facebook group where we kick off and kick out everybody that rants about solar minimum. Well, you know, solar minimum out. Next. Who wants to whine? What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's. I'm gonna try to catch up on the chat. I'm 10 minutes behind. A little more than 10 minutes behind right now. Paul dancing or singing intermission. Oh God. I'll be honest, Matt. Matt says he unplugs the antennas when he hears thunders. I listen through thunderstorms and just forget it. But then again, you know, I'm that kind of guy. I take chances. Wicked Garden, nice to have you here. Yes, better late than never. Absolutely. PageMaster uses 3 logbooks: utility stations, amateur radio, and international broadcasters. That's nice. Separating all of the logs. Actually, that's a good idea. That's pretty much what I would do if I had logbooks. Matt says Cuba's been doing repeats for almost 2 years. It was actively progressing every day for the year or so before then. Huh, interesting. Maybe they're just keeping it active in case of whatever. You know, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So, trying to reach. Jerry, tell your obsessed fans to call later. What else do we have? Scott Cranston, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. Finally plug my antenna back in today after thunderstorms all week. NS North Folks says, I want the new SDR that was just released, AirSpy. Yeah, I saw I think it was on shortwavelistening.com, SWLING.com. They actually talk about the new AirSpy that came out. Looks interesting. It's a competition to the SDR planes, that's for sure. Chris Coomer, nice to have you on board from Ohio. Thank you very much for the nice comment. Alan W says, I was actually talking about a radio next to the Yaesu FT450. It's not that. Is that not a Texan S8800? Oh no, it is. This one is a. It's the little brother of that one. It's the Ethon S350DL or the Grundig S350DL. It's not an S8800. I think that's the one that looks like the S8800 because of the arrangement of the buttons. It does really look like it, but it's not a Texan S8800. What else do we have? Take care, Todd Schmidt. Nice to have you here as usual. MTA got an opening to, whoops, from Europe on FT8. Rob Fiducia, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. Pretty cool. Dan Robinson, nice to have you on board. Dan Robinson says, solar minimum or not, we heard 3260, Madang, and the Japanese Nikkei station at the expedition in Ohio. You know, a lot of what happens, a lot of what happens is the low noise. When you go to a de-expedition, at least you get some low noise. Max S. Strong, nice to have you here from Michigan. When it's hot, when we got really warm weather, Matt, we often get thunderstorms. Hot and humid, there's a lot of often thunderstorms, and we often have heavy thunderstorm warnings too. Mad Reader DXer, nice to have you here, my friend. Red Hat Shortwave, yeah, I'm almost there, guys. I'm there. I'm at the bottom of the chat. Woohoo! I will sometimes choose another night to play if I see some large magnetic storms in the forecast. Some of the best shows I've had were when I thought propagation would be poor, where no one would be listening. That's where we got to be careful, because it's easy to think that, oh, maybe it could be crappy or not, when it's not. I listened almost every night this week. I listened to the through the nights that were a little bit of geomagnetic storming, and it was not as good as usual, yes, but I can't say it was all bad either. But yeah, definitely there was some effect this week from the geostorms. But things are getting better. Yesterday was Thursday. I think it was Wednesday evening. I was able to hear the buzzer slightly on 4625. Kind of interesting. It's like before the show today. I was listening to. Actually, somebody corrected me on the YouTube channel. I posted some USB communications on 14902 upper sideband, 14902, and I had tagged them as Mars military. And somebody came back this week actually in a comment and said that's not Mars, that was the Civil Air Patrol. And so, I tuned 15 megahertz about an hour and a half before the show started, and I noticed that down on the waterfall there was something. So I went to click, and when I clicked I was on 14902, and I noticed there was some talk. So apparently it's a net from the US Civil Air Patrol, and I listened to it for about an hour. It stopped about half an hour before the show started. Even Matt MDK2 was able to receive it, because I was commenting about that. So it's kind of cool. There was really a net from Civil Air Patrol on 14902 upper sideband. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Red Hat Shortwave says I will sometimes choose another night to play. Yeah, okay, that's what we talked about it. Yeah, you got to put the effort. Absolutely, absolutely. And as Darth Fork says, the new AirSpice competition to the Wind Radio G33 DDC. Kind of interesting. Interesting. Lee Burkett, nice to have you on board. 454787 on scanner's crazy. On scanner 454.787. What are you talking about? That's thank you, Red Hat Shortwave. The basic idea, is that like I always say, this is a solitary hobby, and we're all in our little man cave listening to the radio, and we usually don't have a lot of people around that enjoy what we do, and this is for that, bringing everybody together around the radios. And in a similar comeback to thank you, I would say, Red Hat Shortwave, thank you for those types of broadcasts that we like and enjoy. In the pirate world. I mean, I'm one of those that do enjoy scanning and listening into pirate stations. So, in some way, it's a very delicate way of talking because of obviously regulations and what you can and cannot do. But one thing for sure is that that is part of what makes the hobby enjoyable and interesting. Is to have all of that diversity of signals out there, for sure, for sure. Hey, take care, Max Estron. Yeah, Dan Robinson, quiet, absolutely. The V3KRP 73. I'm off to rant about solar minimum on the local repeater. I'd like to hear the conversation. Absolutely. Radio propagation is unpredictable. And even in a geomagnetic storm, you never know what you can actually listen in on. Jerry DX listening to the Cumin Lady on 11635. Oh, Hosmer says, it's like bitching on the weather. Wait 5 minutes, it'll change. With propagation, wait a day or so and it changes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jota Pinga, always nice to have you on board, my friend. Owen, so happy. Been trying to get number stations for ages. Only got the buzzer. Cool. That is cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's like I was telling earlier. I do have a possibility to know my audience and know how many people are watching. But we need to write in. We can't take for granted anything we listen to, anything we watch. I wouldn't be doing this if there were nobody watching. I would not be talking to myself alone. It's growing, and that keeps me also wanting to continue because, I mean, if my audience would not have grown over the years, I still remember the first show I did, I think I had like 15 or 20 people watching. I mean, it's a long way off, 15 or 20 people. That was in 2013. And look, we've reached, I saw the counter go up to 144 about 30 minutes ago. And it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice, we got to, as a hobby and as a hobby and as a community, because we are a community. Shortwave listeners, amateur radio operators, we have one common interest, which is radio. There's another thing that's important here is to understand that the only way we can have all of this and have it cool and have it fun is to help each other out, to let anybody know we are listening in to something. I was talking about pirate radio. If a pirate radio station would never get a report of anybody listening in, well, I don't think there would be any pirate radio out there because they would just not, it's like, oh, nobody listens, so I'm wasting my time. And I'm pretty sure, because I know that would be my thrill, if I would operate a pirate station, my thrill would be, hey, people are listening, and this is where I am actually being received. And I gotta say, that must be a really, really cool thrill of seeing that, going to HF Underground and watching people post, oh, you're being heard all of these places. I think that would be part of my drive. I think a pirate station, the first drive would be, you want to be on the air and you want to broadcast whatever your pleasure is, and then I think the drive continues when you look at the reports and you're like, oh, I'm being heard all over the place. This is so cool, It's like, okay, at least I'm not just, you know, having some signal nobody's listening to. But in the bigger picture, we all need to also take care of our hobby. You know, when I say nobody's on the air on the ham bands, there are way too many people out there that have a ham license and never talk and never do anything. What's the point of having a ham license if that's the way you're going to handle things? If you're a shortwave listener, I think you do have, if you love your hobby, I think you do have a minimum of, the minimum you should do is write to your stations that you listen to and let them know you're there. You know, if we would go back 20 years, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the stations gone is because of money constraints. But how many out there might have at least continued longer if there were enough people letting them know that they're listening in? It's interesting because I know that there's an audience. Honestly, a lot of stations that might not, you know, let's say they have, you know, a dozen emails or letters a week. If a dozen people actually took the time to write in, there's probably an audience that's much bigger than that behind it. But it's complicated. I mean, you know, having an audience that's invisible is the problem. And I think as a hobby as a whole, we need to do something. My part of doing something is this. My part of doing something to the hobby is we are live and we gather tons of people around and we talk about radio. It's something that we dearly love. Obviously, all of us, and I look at your posts and I see the comments, I see you guys talking to each other. And I can tell you one thing. It's obvious you guys share the same passion that I do with the hobby. It's obvious you guys are really love what you do. And if you're an amateur radio operator, take the time to do contacts. Go on the air. Call CQ. Have fun with your hobby. It's there. It's not because 20 meter band is dead and your horn don't hear a signal that you should not go on the frequency and call CQ and see if somebody responds. You might be very surprised. An example of that is there was a station this week, a station in California I was listening to on 20 meters calling CQ, and the guy, I tell you, the guy called CQ for at least half an hour. I mean, that's intense. A lot of people would have just, you know, okay, after 5 minutes, nobody's out there. But the problem is that, you know, the ham bands, what's the problem is you're on a frequency and you've got all the bands and all that large frequency and you're there, that little signal there. And for a regular analog radio, for a lot of people, that's what they have. You got to have that chance that while you are listening, you will stumble across that guy calling CQ. So it's a question of chance. So in my case, the chance was at that time I was listening. Obviously, because of an SDR, I could see his trace, so I was curious to see what that station was about. And I clicked on it. But it's still a question of chance, because I could have not been listening. But the guy spent half an hour calling CQ every few minutes. And I was doing other things, so I left it on the frequency. And after 30 minutes, the guy made a contact with a station in Iceland. I couldn't hear the station, but the guy was so happy to make a contact with a station in Iceland. And I remember while I was doing my stuff, I was like, your 30 minutes of CQ paid off, because for the first time ever, you got a new country. And the, you know, that moment there where that guy was tuning in and you were calling CQ and all of that came together. And that's radio. That's radio. There's that time when everything comes together and you're like, oh my God, I'm listening to this, or I hear that. Thing is, you gotta be active, and you gotta be listening, and you gotta be calling, and you gotta be doing things. But it was kind of fun. I wish I could have heard that Iceland station, because it would have been even more fun, even for me. But still, that guy, more than half an hour calling CQ. But I'm sure that he's happy to have done it, and he's gonna do it again. Because even though there was nothing in the bands, he didn't fall for that. After 2 minutes, there's nobody answering back. I'm not going to do anything else. He actually continued and stayed there. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. What else do we have? Radio telescope, nice to have you on board. Voice of the Voyager. For that shortwave, you know, it's the same for you guys. What you do. Johnny the Extra, that's pretty good for a first show. You know, it's interesting, Johnny the Extra, because I follow a couple of guys that do live shows on YouTube, and small YouTubers. You know, I'm a pretty small YouTuber in the context of YouTube. They do a live show. There's a couple of guys I follow, they've been doing a live show for 2 years. And their audience stays down at the doldrums of, you know, 8, 10, 12 people watching every day, or every time they do the show. It makes me sad, because it's like, well, you're putting a lot of effort in what you do, and you're not getting an audience to it. And it's complicated. It's complicated because it's not necessarily that the whatever you're doing is you know is bad or anything. It's just there are things like that, you know. I've been able at least to pull a audience off of, you know, what I do, honestly. Justin Patty says, I once heard that you could pick up EM noise from Jupiter. I wonder, would you need any special gear to do that? Actually, you know, thanks for talking about it, Tristan, because Jupiter is at pretty much its best right now in our skies in the evening. So you don't need any special gear. The thing is you need to know what you're listening in is Jupiter. There's this guy on when I go to spaceweather.com, they often mention this guy that has kind of this, it's got an SDR listening into the signals. So Jupiter, basically, it's depending on what the type of signal it's sending out, and you don't really know, because, you know, it's interactions of the magnetic field of Jupiter that's very, very powerful with you know, the solar system and everything. What we know and what everybody hears, and you know what, the worst part of it, Owen, is that we probably, all of us listening a lot to our shortwave radio, there's a good chance that pretty much all of us heard Jupiter at one time or another in our shortwave hobby, but we just didn't know it was that. I'm pretty sure I heard Jupiter probably many times and just didn't know it was that. So it could be, you know, snap, crackle, pops types of signals that you think is some kind of local interference. There are moments where it sounds like ocean waves. So basically it's like the noise gets stronger and fades away. What you need is to have Jupiter high up in the sky at the moment you're listening. Of course, having a good antenna is probably good. So, you know, if you have at least an outdoor wire or something that at least increases the input of signals. I'm not sure you can listen into Jupiter with just a telescopic antenna on a portable, but you never know. Honestly, some of them are really, really strong, so who knows? And Jupiter is between about 20 and 25 megahertz. In that 5 megahertz range. Many times I've read around 22 megahertz seems to be the peak where it's the strongest. If you you know, like for example tonight, if you listen in around your local time, around 11 p.m. to midnight, Jupiter is at pretty much its highest in your sky. I've seen Jupiter in the past few weeks. It's really, really bright. So 11, like, you know, 10 p.m. to midnight range. Tune into around 22 megahertz. You know, I might try it tonight just for the fun of it. And you know what? If you hear crackles, pops, that sounds like local interference, but it's not there usually. You never know. It could be Jupiter. It is broadcasting all sorts of weird sounds and noises, for sure. Red Hot Shortwave, that's very true, and that is one of the things that makes HF so much more rewarding than other conventional broadcasting avenues. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much different propagation methods and things, I can tell you that. Bullfrog 89, nice to have you on board. If all goes well, Vaults, I'll be, I know there's a examiner at the Longueuil Amfest in October. I'm planning on passing my my license there. So possibly in like October or something like that. But it's coming. Art Bell, big name in radio, J. Waterson 69, absolutely. Matt says, I've had such a hard time with shortwave broadcast stations other than Radio Havana, Cuba, that I haven't submitted a reception report to anyone in about a year. I do drop lines to Voice of the Report of the Week about once a month though. Vault says invisible audience in QSLs is only a part of the issue. You're forgetting the commercial part that they play an ad on the radio and get zero customer conversion. They ain't buying ad time again. There's a lot of things happening with that for sure. Yeah, Art Bell was an amateur radio operator, W6OBB. It is dedication. That guy, 30 minutes, you know. Yeah, I know I'm not small to you guys. You know, I do realize I've reached a certain status on YouTube, for sure. But, you know, when I look at some of the other YouTubers, I'm like, yeah, I'm that small guy there. But, you know, all is relative. One of the guys that was talking about does the live show for that you know never really goes more than 10 or 12 you know viewers live every day, and the guy is dedicated. I remember he told me once, he said, you know, you're a big guy. And I said, I'm not a big guy. He says, yeah, you're a big guy. When I see how many views you have on some of your videos and how many people you reach in your live shows, you're much bigger than you think. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still a small guy, but you know, it's all relative. It's all relative, I can tell you that. Chester Johnson, nice to have you here. Cold beer looks good. Only 113 Fahrenheit heat index here this afternoon. Oh man, that's too hot for me. You better have a good cold beer, I can tell you that. Good cold beer. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's go down, let's go down. Jerry's made some videos listening to Jupiter and his Texan S2000. I need to check that out. Rickshaw Jack, I have the XH Data D808 or the PL, the Texan PL880 on my list. Which one should I get? Both if you can afford them. But if you got a choice of one, I would go with the XH Data. I really would go on the XH Data. DJ Alvin, nice to have you here. Chester Johnson says, as a kid in Alaska in the late 60s, AM and shortwave radio was my best friend. I had a wire antenna up high and some lot pole pines. No TV, no phone. Miss it. That was, I mean, that was great, honestly. Around 22 megahertz. Just AM. Just AM. Try to have the largest bandwidth possible. If you hear some swish sound like the ocean or some crackles, you might be listening to Jupiter actually, which is the biggest DX in the world finally, because Jupiter is what, about 700 million kilometers from here. So that means if you're listening to Jupiter, you're having the farthest DX that you can never ever get, around 700 to 800 million kilometers, which is amazing. Which also makes us think about how powerful these radio signals are from the planet coming to here. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. If you have a directional antenna, I'm sure that probably helps a lot. Max Estrong, I never quite understood how AM ratings were compiled on daily. Well, I don't know about the US. Here in Canada, for a long time, what would happen is that we would be sent out. I had the opportunity to do this about 3 or 4 times. They would actually call you, and what they would do is send me a little booklet. So they would send you that, and they would send me like $2 or something to compensate. And for a week, they want you to actually log every station you're listening to, and how long you listen to it, and so on. And then you send back the booklet. Today they have more of electronic ways and electronic stuff. Of logging. I believe there's new boxes now that they are coming out with that actually are kind of listening boxes. They know when you're listening to the radio, and they will actually start logging what you're listening to, and they stop logging it when it's stopped. A little bit like a Google Home Mini Spy that would spy on when you're listening to the radio. But so from that, and I'm pretty much sure that in the United States they had the same kind of system. From there, they actually extrapolate the audience. So if they sent 2,000 books and a certain number of people listening to that, well, they know that in general that means the audience to that program or station is probably this big, you know. Charles Williams says you're a big fish in a niche market. Yeah, kind of. You're right on that. I remember somebody quoting me as being the biggest shortwave channel around. So you're right on that. Absolutely, Vaults. YouTube algorithms, absolutely. I got to say what you're saying here is very, very important. The fact that I started a long time ago, and a lot of the things that I do did help me a lot back then. It helped me build the audience. It helped me reach where I am. I'm pretty sure anybody starting a new channel today has a much harder time getting there than back 6, 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, Page Master, as you said, and as I said, the W6LVP magnetic loop antenna is great, but it ain't a miracle antenna. It's not gonna necessarily, you know, dish you out of the noise. It helps here. It helps somewhat. It is amazing below 10 megahertz, and I mean, when I listen to the 160 meter band, I'm still amazed. But that said, if you have a lot of noise everywhere around, it's not a miracle antenna. It might not, in some cases, help you. That'd be nice. AM broadcast band to amateur radio. That would be nice. I'd like that, honestly. It's roughly between 20 and 25 megahertz for Jupiter. And Jupiter gets rises around sunset in our local area, even a little before. So it's already high up in the sky at like 10 p.m., 10 or 11 p.m. Hey, I haven't done anything like that today. So if you guys enjoy what I do, paypal.me/shortwave is one way. Send me a little something if you love what I do. You can also send your PayPal donations to the Yahoo email that I'm sending here. It helps tremendously. I had to buy a new laptop because I do these things. It costs a lot of money. Of course, your donations help a lot. Patreon.com/radio and computers is another place where you can give a little something and help out. Everything is welcome. It doesn't matter how much you're going to give. I always get these messages from people that, you know, tell me, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm only giving this because I'm not capable of. It's all right. You don't have to explain yourself. It's if you're giving $1, it's already better than 99% of everybody watching. It's as simple as that. You have already done more effort than 99% of everybody out there. So don't hesitate, and it's always nice to have your donations. And like every week, you know, if you never gave a donation in the past, and you watch me all the time, you love what I do, why not think about it? Think about it as, you know, some people think about it like that, a yearly subscription. They say, hey, I watch you every week. Once a year I give a donation. It's like, you know, taking a subscription to a magazine or a club membership or whatever. So thanks for everybody that have donated, and hope that spare a little something. David Green, that the Bender action figure on your speaker needs some beer. Yeah, it does. Ah, man. Max S. Strong. Loop fanatics like myself can be quite religious about a magical loop. Romancing the loop. No, Jupiter is not bigger than the sun, Jerry. The sun is, to give you an idea, Jerry, and for those that don't know, if you put all of the mass of the solar system, okay, the sun and all the planets, the sun is 99% of all the solar system's mass. The 1% that's left is the planets and everything else. So Jupiter is quite small compared to the sun. If Jupiter, because Jupiter has the same gases, if Jupiter, Jerry, would have been as big as the sun, we would have 2 suns in our solar system. Because when roughly 11, I think it was 11 or 12 times the size of Jupiter is the minimum required for a ball of gas to actually ignite into a star. So Jupiter is like a tenth of what it needs to be a star. But Jupiter is very small compared to the Sun, honestly. The Sun is huge. Those that never watched a real size map, the Sun is extremely huge compared to the rest of the solar system. And yet, the Sun is actually very small compared to a lot of other stars in our galaxy. So it's pretty crazy. But Jupiter has one of the biggest magnetic fields in our solar system. And actually Jupiter, even the gravity of Jupiter, is strong enough that a lot of the interactions in our solar system are partly driven because of Jupiter's strong gravity and magnetic field. It interacts enough that it changes the way the dynamics of the solar system work. So even though it's small compared to the Sun, it's still pretty amazing. Right now, Shortwave listener was supposed to keep track of what they listened to during the course of a day. That's what I was doing. Portable people meter replaced the diary system in the last large markets. You know, today they could just do an app and say, hey, we're gonna put that app on your phone for a week and let that app just listen in on what we listen to the radio or the TV, honestly. Carlos Danger. I just got started in shortwave with the Texan S2000 and a low-bander dipole. That's the best way to get started and find things to listen to. You can just put out a piece of wire and start with that and see what you can do. Texan S2000 is okay radio. You should be able to pick up stuff for sure. Thanks, Sheldon, for sharing the Jupiter listening stuff. But that's for sure. Yes, I did, Jerry, listen to Parks on the Air at some point. I don't remember when, and there was actually one of the events they did on Parks on the Air. I was listening to something. I think it was last year. I listened to that. It could be interesting listening for sure. Page Master wants to make. Is the AM station operation going on right now to make contacts? Kind of interesting. Aris. No, I don't get bitcoins. I've never dabbled in bitcoins, really. Never did. Yeah, Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. That thing is way bigger than our sun, absolutely. It's a giant red. And it's in the constellation Orion. In the winter times that we see it. It's a very, very beautiful. Orion is, for me, one of the best, most beautiful constellations in the world, in the universe. Yeah, multiple conversations, absolutely. Christian Ferland, nice to have you here, my friend Christian. Always nice to have you on board. Let's just check out here. I'm going to check out if there's anything particular. So, Spain should be in English right now. Let's check it out. Let's check Spain. Yep, it is.
Well, Wendy, I think this is really kind of a wonderful pop song. It's uplifting in words, in images, in melody and rhythm. The recording includes great things like...
Strong signal from Spain, 9690.
Chorus of voices. There's a very intelligent use of echo and reverb and tasteful moderation. It seems, perhaps, it might seem like a simple song.
Hey, John McClure, nice to have you here.
Your ears. And in fact, there are 4 distinct sections of the song: the verse, the chorus, the bridge, and the outro. It's a great song. Wendy, tell us something about this song and what inspired you to write it. Trees, family, there's some pictures also that the song goes with.
Hey, I'm going to let you guys with Spain for a few seconds while I go pee.
And unfortunately, she died in August, but it was unexpected. But I wrote that song because I wanted to share the values, my grandmother's values, her faith, her positivity. She was a strong woman and with a lot of light. And I wanted to do metaphors about the tree because I wanted to speak about the cycle of life and for sure ecology and what you spoke right now about is super important for me. So it was a great idea to do this metaphor, to speak about trees, and to speak about her faith, her positivity, and because my grandmother, she lived a life beautiful, but also with moments more hard, harder moments.
She lived through the Second World War.
Yeah, she was a resistant. Yeah. Yeah, she was a resistant, and in her marriage, it was not easy.
So Spain very strong on 9690 kilohertz. .690 kilohertz. Take care, Donald Hosmer. Always nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Yeah, Betelgeuse will go supernova. It's a huge super red giant. These always go supernova at some point, but million years from now, millions of years. I don't know where we'll be. Butterbean, nice to have you on board from Northeast Georgia. Pretty cool. Listening to oldies on his G5 RV and Alec Crafter's S120. Alec Crafter is a beautiful radio, I can tell you that. So Spain 9690 is pretty good. In English, they were kind of off and weird for a while. Nice to see them back. Let's try for. So here goes, 9830. We have missing Turkey. Turkey is not there, 9830. A lot of people have been talking about that in the past week or so. Turkey missing on frequencies. There was also a post about Turkey on a frequency in English and continuing in English past their time and actually interfering with another station. That's the story of Voice of Turkey. Voice of Turkey is always messed up in their broadcast all the time. It's totally nuts. Hey, Callum too. Nice to have you here, Callum. Nice to have you on board, my friend. So Turkey is missing, actually, at this time. Let's see what we can hear. Let's check out. Let's go down to 5 megahertz. Anything there? Okay, 6,000. John McClure likes sliced turkey. Well, I've got this weird. This is local, probably. 6,000 signal. We got Brother Stare on 6115. Let's check out if we have some pirate stations or anything here. Any pirate stations? Oh, there's look at that, guys. Chesapeake, Virginia weather, maritime weather, 6501 upper sideband.
Day night. Southeast winds 10 to 15 knots.
6501.
3 to 5 feet. Wednesday. Southeast winds 10 to 15 knots. 3 to 5 feet. Wednesday night. Southeast winds 10 to 15 knots. 3 to 5 feet. Atlantic waters south of 22.
6501 upper sideband. Chesapeake, Virginia. Weather.
3 to 5 feet. Saturday. Southeast winds 10 to 15 knots. 3 to 5 feet.
It's a pretty good signal from Chesapeake, Virginia. Take care, Lee Burkett. So next week, once again, I will mention to everybody, you know, Bro Reaver, Brother Stare is like those things that you always want to leave, you know, you always wish they would leave and never be there again, but they're always sticking and always there forever. So, you know, as long as he has money, he's going to be there. So, you know, so take care, Lee Burkett. So, like I was saying, next week we're going to have 2 shows. Once again, next week on Friday, August 16th, we will have the regular show at 2000 UTC. And Saturday, August 17th, we will be live from the CIDX Barbecue in Greenfield Park, Quebec, the Canadian International DX Club Barbecue. And we will be live at 20 UTC on Saturday, August 17th from the barbecue. Of course, we'll have, you know, interviews, we'll have a lot of fun. And it's going to be outside, it's going to be outdoors, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully, it's not going to rain, and hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun to be there. So that's in a week from now. A week from now, pretty much. Saturday, August 17th. So 2 shows next week. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's always fun to do the show from CIDX. And, you know, always cool to be here. And now, the star of the show is coming back. So he was here at the beginning, and he's here now, once again, Mr. Paul. Here's Mr. Paul the Cat saying hi to everybody. Hey guys, how can you not give a donation to this little kitty? Look at how slim he is, and he really needs food. So anyways, next week 2 shows, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, it's always cool to meet up with everybody at the CIDX barbecue, and you know, I'm going to meet some people that I've never seen. There's a few guys from that are regulars here that I've that are going to make it to the barbecue. Brian Penny, and we have Brent from Brockville, Ontario, that you guys see all the time. That's going to be part of the show. So I don't know. We'll ask them if they want to be part of the show. Of course, I will not force anything, because I know some people don't necessarily want to be live, but we will have some people live and talk about the radio for sure. I hope you guys enjoy the shows next week, and you know, all the efforts also that I put into having all of this going on. You know, it's not always easy, and you got to be, you know, on there all the time. So think about that for sure. Red Hat Shortwave says, we've been favoring the 6300 area for summer broadcasts. We'll probably go back to 4200 area around Halloween. Yeah, this winter probably will be the Pirates on 4 megahertz range have been giving us pretty good signals in the winter time. You know, lower selectivity means lower frequencies. I'm going to tune in for Pirates tonight. I've heard Laser Hot Hits, I think it was 6205 from Europe, about a week ago. Strong enough to recognize the music. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's hamburgers on the barbecue, Jerry. Hamburgers. Take care, Calvin. Always nice to have you on board. Oh, that's the same. Oh, that's a good idea also, Red Hat, because that range, 6200, 6400, roughly, Euro Pirates are there. So a lot of European might actually stumble upon your broadcast. That's for sure. That's for sure. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I often go, you know, 5 megahertz, 4 megahertz, check out what's happening there. but propagation being a little more tricky because of the solar cycles and everything. I think they're adapting to the frequencies they can actually go to, and so they've been using a lot of those lower frequencies for sure. You know what, Rob? If YouTube's still there in 10 years, there's no, you know, there's still gonna be, they're still gonna be there. They're still gonna be archived. Maybe in my good old days, you know, when I'm at that old folks home, and I'll be talking to other people saying, hey, I used to do these YouTube live shows, like all the kids listen and watch my live shows and see me, you know, when I was 50, when I'll be like 85, and thinking, wow, those were the days, and you know, being like an old guy, you know, saying, well, you know, we didn't realize what we had back then, because in reality, we never realize what we have, and we realize 20 years later, 30 years later, it's like, yeah, I didn't take the time to live whatever I wanted to. I at least have that cool thing. I'll be able to say, you know what, I live my life pretty much like I wanted, working on YouTube, doing YouTube videos and live shows, which is not what, you know, a lot of people are doing in their own lives, and it's kind of cool, you know. Take care, Maglone. It's nice to have you on board. Take care, Trustin Patty. Good weekend. Thank you, Rob, for nice comments. Always nice to have everybody here. Firefly, nice to have you here. G8SBS in Japan. Bad shortwave. Nonsense. These are the good old days. Absolutely. Absolutely. I like I know Sheldon will be a little off by this, but there's a song from Duran Duran, and they say all you need is now. And yeah, all you need is now. The future is the future. Whatever happens, the past you can never go back. So all you need is now. ZX. Hey there. Oh really, Firefly? You're in Japan for a ham conference. Well, cool. So it's early morning on Saturday. You are a man from the future. Fun to all. That is right. Yeah. All you need is now and having fun. So Chesapeake, Virginia, weather in 6501. That's on 66. I guess it's Aero Communications. Anything else? Let's look at the 40-meter band. Out of curiosity, some interesting stuff on the 40-meter band sometimes. So yeah, a lot of stuff on the 40-meter band. Radio Marti, what's that? There's some weird. That doesn't look like. Let's look at the 20-meter band. 20-meter band looks quiet. So you guys go on the air, do something. Oh, there's some stuff. Oh, Paul is pushing my hand. Pushing my hand, saying, hey man, you're not, I'm there. There's a little bit of activity on 20 meters. There is some activity on 20 meters. How old is Paul? I'm not really sure, but we estimate that he's about 8, something like 8 years old, roughly. because it's kind of complicated to really be sure, but about 8 years old, I would say. And he's been here. He's been here in for 4 years now. First time that he actually came here is 4 years. 4 years ago, he appeared on my balcony for the first time. ZXZX is from Poland. Nice to have you here from Poland. Some activity 14208. Some guys talking. Yeah, Callum is in England, I believe. Absolutely, in the UK. What are you doing? This is so weird. Ow! 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 Paul just put his claws in my leg. Ow! Radio weak signal work. Nice to have you on board, my friend. K7LNP in Utah. How you doing? Pretty cool. Any, let's just check out number stations a little bit. I don't think at this time there's a lot of number stations going to be in. So we're at 2226. That's interesting. There's a station F01 on 2823 radio teletype and says target North America. Kind of interesting. F01. F01. Frequency shift keying digital mode. And apparently would be to so at 22:30 in 4 minutes. 2823. You know what? When I say I don't think we're gonna hear it, but we should always try. Let's try it. 2823. An upper sideband, I guess, because it says radio teletype. So, okay, guys, tune 20823, 20823, wherever you live, and listen. And let me know if any of you guys hear something in 3 minutes time. 3 minutes time. There's a station called F01, and it says target North America. So let me just get more info on this, because I want to know where that comes from. Number station F01. It's a Russian digital number station, apparently. And it utilizes a custom BFSK mode compatible with ITA2 RTTY. It's been in operation since 2000. Null messages consist solely of the group 00000 and no other metadata. But if there's traffic, there are 5-digit groups, apparently. So F01. I want you guys, once again, to tune 20823. It's going to be there in just a little more than a minute if we hear it. And let me know if you guys hear anything on that frequency. Oh, sorry guys. It's back up. Hey, I wanted to show my belly in HD. David Arden, North America, been there. Kurup Manukian, nice to have you here from California, KK6SEI. Nice to have you here. Well, it's RTTY, so I would guess USB is the mode, because RTTY, we usually put ourselves in USB. So it's supposed to be here in not long. Apparently it's being phased out for the new S06 mode. I would guess USB, Jerry. I had a hunch we wouldn't hear anything, because even if it's transmitting on 20 megahertz from Russia at this time, I don't think we would hear anything. You know, maybe in this, you know, in highest solar activity or something. But honestly, now let's look at this. In 10 minutes, there's another one, and we're going to try that one too. 18397. 18397. Still, I don't think it's going to be there, but let's try it. 18397. Who knows? Who knows? And upper side band, 18397. This is also F01, and it's supposed to come from Russia. Let's try it out. Once again, at this time, I don't think we're going to hear anything, but you know what? So, 18397 USB is the next frequency we should try in 9 minutes. We'll see. We'll see. You know what, MDK2? I saw your post about XPA2 supposed to be at 1900. I had, before the live show, because I saw your post, and before the live show I had 3 occasions to hear XPA2 on 3 different frequencies. I tried all 3 of them. I heard nothing at all. I'm not sure it's because Preom is wrong necessarily. Either they, look, these are number stations. We got to remember one thing. They probably want to be under the radar. So what is interesting here is that they don't want everybody to know they exist and they're there. So it's possible they might change the frequency without notice. You know, they don't send out a frequency schedule of, oh, by the way, our spies are going to be listening to this frequency at this time next Tuesday. I'm not sure they want that to happen. But that said, several things: bad propagation, or it happens that they are just not there. I don't think they're there every day. I think sometimes they're not. So because Preom has been pretty accurate, and I know it's updated regularly, but anything can happen, honestly. I mean, you know. Yeah, no, it's not an FM. You know what that is there on 18,000? That's a computer interference. There's a computer working on the other room, and I know that's the signal from that computer. It's not an FM station. It's some kind of weird computer thing. The GMR 140, nice to have you on board, my friend. Always nice to be here. For those that don't know, well, this is a shortwave show where we talk about radio below 30 megahertz mostly, and we are here every Fridays, 2000 hours UTC. Next week, 2 shows: Friday, August 16th, 2000, and the Canadian International DX Club Barbecue, CIDX, at 2000 hours UTC on Saturday, August 17th. Well, you know, David Arden, I've noticed over the years that subscriber count and views are two very separate things. You know, a lot of them know that I exist and that I do a live show, but it's kind of complicated. You know, sometimes you subscribe to something, but you don't really continue or wanna continue. Uh, 10 meters is 28 megahertz. 20 megahertz is about 16 meters, 15 meters. 28 to 3 is 15 meters, roughly. 18397 is like 17 meters. Yeah. It's funny, man, because I posted a video on the VHF channel about AO92 satellite or AO91. And the first thumbs up or down that came up is with thumbs down. It's like, wow, he was there at the moment we have to do this. But you know, I don't care. Losing their times, you know, losing their times. It shows you there's a lot of you losers out there that just haven't time to do whatever, you know. It's just nuts. And the internet is perfect for that, because I mean the internet is, you're anonymous behind your screen, because you never come up to my face and do it, because you'd like be scared that I would probably, you know, beat the crap out of you. But that's life. So 4 minutes, even less, 3 minutes now. 18397. Did I put? Yeah, 18397. I don't think we'll hear that one either, but let's just try it. 18397. Yeah, 15, 16 meter band, something like that. It's actually 15 point, you know, it's like 15 dot something. 15 meters is 20 megahertz precisely, or almost. So here we are. If you guys are enjoying the show today, we're waiting for a number station, which is a kind of a, you know, government-owned thing where they send secret messages to spy somewhere in the world. I still remember the first time I heard F06, which is also a Russian one. I was listening a couple of years ago to Radio New Zealand on 15820 at 0400, and I heard this tone. And you guys know when there's a tone on this frequency when you're listening to a signal, it's a heterodyne, so there must be something close to it. And I was with the ICOM here, and I put myself in upper sideband and I went to tune it, and I distinctly could see that the signal was on 15721. And one of the nights it was strong enough that I could actually hear numbers in Russian, and I was like, man, this is number station. It's a Russian number station. And I didn't know they were using that frequency. And they're still using it. According to Prion, every night, 0400 UT, 15721 is a number station. And it's from Asiatic Russia. So it's from the Asian part of Russia that it's broadcast, apparently. But I remember the first time I heard it, I was like so surprised. I was like, oh man, I'm hearing a Russian number station. Pretty cool. You know, I think it's part of why we 14.4 meters, Matt. Cool. You know, I think one of the things that keeps us on shortwave, and if you've been listening for a while, is the weird weird signals, the weird sounds, and it's part of mystery of whatever you're listening to. I remember finding shortwave so mysterious, just by whatever signal was there and the sounds of that signal and what it was all about. It's just crazy. I remember listening to you know, the realistic DX100 drifts a lot, and listening to some weird digital modes that would, like, you know, change or shift in frequency as the radio drifted. And I remember one winter day when, you know, it's dark and it's snowing outside and I'm all alone inside the home in that eerie, weird you know, digital mode or whatever, going and shifting in frequency with the radio. And I remember being alone and thinking, wow, this is really creepy, really creepy. Plus, you know, you add to the fact that you just didn't know what it was, which makes it even more particular, even more weird, even more intriguing, if you want, you know. You know, the number stations, I know that there are new ones popping up from time to time. I know, if you go to the, because pre-om is one thing, they have a working schedule. But if you guys, I'm going to give you a page here, and check it out because it's interesting. There's a page called Numbers and Oddities. So here's the page, Numbers and Oddities, and they have on this page several things that are interesting. There's the newsletter, which is the Enigma 2000 newsletter, and the Numbers and Oddities, or AKA the Spooks newsletter, that is updated all the time. What's interesting is that they list in there number stations that are one-time things, meaning in there you will see logs of stations giving numbers that they just do it at one time on a one frequency, and that's it. And that's it. So there's a lot more numbers and mystery number stations than we actually see if we just follow pre-om. There's all sorts of weird things everywhere across the bands everywhere. And that is the place to be, because they have a bunch of logs and of interesting stuff about the different number stations, and some of them are just like they do this from time to time, and that's it. Jerry's listening to TI8II Costa Rica on 14220. Let's see if I can hear it. 14220. WRNO John McClure is pretty much all religious stuff on 7505. 7505 kilohertz. And it's pretty much just religious stuff. They even have Chinese broadcasts. I noticed the other, a few months ago, they even have shortwave broadcasts. Hey Darren Pierce, nice to have you on board. VK3 Land, which is Australia. Nice to have you on board from a very cold, wet and windy Australia. What part of Australia, Darren? We'd like to know. Inquiring minds want to know of that. And we're at 2 hours and 44 minutes. Melbourne, Australia. Nice to have you here. That always reminds me of Radio Australia, when they were actually talking and saying, hey, we're listening to Radio Australia from Melbourne, Australia. I miss Radio Australia so much. But we do have Radio New Zealand. It's not bad, but so hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Next week we'll have 2 shows. Friday, August 16th, 2000 hours UTC, usual show. Saturday, August 17th, we will have the special CIDX show. That will be, of course, aired from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Don't forget that on Sundays, every Sundays, 14:30 UTC, we have the International Radio Report on CKUT.ca. You can stream it. Here in Montreal, it's CKUT 90.3 FM. You can listen to us. And if you do, please let us know you're listening to the show. It's always fun to know that people are listening either to the archive show or, you know, anything else. It's the International Radio Report. So 2 hours and 46 minutes into the show. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Always nice to be here. Love you all. It was great to be here. Hope everything's fine. Listen to that radio, please. Darren Peters says, drove past the Radio Australia Shepparton site recently. All the antennas, feed lines, and buildings appear to be intact. You know, let's cross our fingers. As long as they're up, as long as they're still there, let's just cross our fingers, Darren, that maybe something could change. It's, you know, we knew here in Canada it was dead for Radio Canada International when the transmitter site in Sackville, New Brunswick was actually gone. And as long as everything's up, who knows? Because they don't have to spend that much to get back on the air. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Always nice to have you on board. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the show, paypal.me/shortwave for donations. They help a lot. You can also send, if you're not getting the link, PayPal donations to the Yahoo email here. Thanks for being here. And you can become a patron, patreon.com/radio and computers. Hey, Paulo's Record. Nice to have you here. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe, please. And if you enjoy what we have and what we do, please consider a donation. Really, really helps a lot. Stay safe, my friends. 2 shows coming up next week, so take care and hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.